It can be so hard for children who are left alone without parental care or attention. Many children are left without parents every year for various reasons, but it is especially painful when parents abandon their children. Such children sincerely hope to receive the care and love that their parents deprived them of. Will they ever be able to trust adults, or will they become closed off, not allowing anyone to approach them or to get close? This story happened to a boy named Anthony who had to endure a lot in his life. He lived with several families before he met someone who could truly understand him, but even then, it wasn't so simple. I will tell you today whether the boy ever finds happiness. When Anthony was 4 years old, his parents realized that they could no longer take care of him and gave him up for adoption. But no suitable adoptive parents were found, so the boy was simply transferred from one foster family to another. For 7 years, he hoped in vain that one of these families would keep him. Anthony lived with the last family the longest, and he had begun to hope again that they would not give him to another family. Everything seemed to be going well, and he got along with the other foster siblings. But one day, he fell ill. His foster parents brought him to a hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina, and left him for examination. Anthony waited for his foster parents to come visit him, but no one ever did. Days passed. The boy was genuinely confused as to why no one would come see how he was doing. He asked the doctors and nurses if anyone had asked about his condition, but they didn't know how to tell him that his foster parents left him there without even saying goodbye, hoping the system would take care of him. This was in 2018, and Anthony was 11 years old. He was left alone again. He had nowhere to go, and he couldn't understand why everyone abandoned him. He sat in his hospital room and cried because he knew he would be discharged soon. It was at this point that Anthony began to lose faith in adults and people in general. And who could blame him? After all, it seemed no one cared about him. He was all alone. We don't know how this story could have ended if not for an event in his life that forever changed Anthony's attitude towards people. The boy's case manager was Jessica Ward. Anthony was to be discharged on Friday, but he had nowhere to go, so Jessica urgently needed a place for Anthony to stay over the weekend until she was able to figure something else out. Jessica knew Peter Mutsabazi well. This man worked for a nonprofit organization that helped children from disadvantaged families who found themselves in difficult situations. They provided children with psychological support, gave them food and clothes if necessary. Peter himself had been a foster parent for 3 years. He often took in children like Anthony for weeks or months at a time while the right family was being found for them. He was a real professional at what he did, finding a common language with children and trying to be a true friend to them. However, he mostly worked with young children, and he didn't know how to deal with 11-year-old Anthony. But Anthony's story moved Peter so much, and he felt so sorry for him that he agreed to watch after him over the weekend. There is something else we need to reveal about Peter's story. For the past 7 months, Peter had been raising 2 brothers and was thinking about adopting them, but then out of nowhere, their biological parents decided to take the boys back home. Peter understood that it would be hard for the brothers to live with these people, but he couldn't go against the system, and he realized he couldn't change anything. He was very sad to part with them, and the boys cried very much when they were taken from Peter's house. They didn't understand why they had to leave him and go live with strangers. It was a difficult parting for everyone. So Peter, like Anthony, felt very lonely in this world, and he decided that spending the weekend together would benefit both of them. During the couple of days that Peter and Anthony spent together, they talked a lot. For the first time, the boy decided to open up about personal things because he felt some kind of connection with Peter. Peter learned that the boy had bounced from family to family and that the last one just abandoned him at the hospital when he got sick. It turned out that Anthony was not the first child they did this to. A few years ago, they brought another child to the hospital in the same way and left them there as well. Peter listened to the boy's stories and became more and more filled with warm feelings for him. Without expecting it, he also felt some kind of connection with Anthony, as if they had known each other for years. So Peter decided to tell Anthony his own sad story from his childhood. It turned out that Peter also had a very difficult past. He was from Uganda. His family was not just poor, but were beggars. The children had literally nothing to eat. Their mother tried the best she could to feed the children, but their father led a rather idle lifestyle, drank a lot, often humiliated their mother, and raised his hand against them. Peter lived in constant fear of his father's bad mood. All of the children tried to avoid him, especially when he was tipsy. Once, when Peter was 10 years old, his father called Peter over to him, slapped him a couple of times, then sent him to the store to buy cigarettes. Peter only had 10 minutes to run the errand, so he rushed as quickly as possible, but on the way back, he fell and accidentally damaged the pack of cigarettes. Fearing the inevitable anger of his father, Peter decided not to return home, but started to live on the streets in Uganda. Peter and the other street children would steal food in order to eat, but one day he met a family who took him in and adopted him. They brought Peter to the United States, where he grew up, received a good education, and had now become an adoptive father himself to help other children who find themselves in difficult situations. After this weekend, they both realized that it would be difficult to part ways, so Peter decided to adopt Anthony. But the process was not fast and took a total of 2 years. Peter and Anthony really hoped that during these 2 years, no one would lay claim to the boy, and they would be able to safely complete the whole process. Fortunately, after 2 long years, the boy officially became Peter's son. If you enjoyed this story, please click the like button, write your comments, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell icon so as not to miss our new videos.